The champagne cork popped loudly like a sudden gunshot to my chest. Across the shiny glass conference table in a tall Chicago office building, my cousins Andrew and Logan Barrett clinked their glasses with proud smiles. I sat at the far end, staring down at a stack of termination papers they had pushed toward me, like a final insult to my future at Barrett Dynamics. Andrew raised his glass and said, "Finally free to reach its full potential." Logan smirked and added, "No more dead weight in IT support." He looked straight at me. "That's all you ever were, Elise. Uncle David kept you around out of loyalty, but this isn't a family pet project anymore. It's business." I picked up the papers with steady hands, though inside I felt a storm raging. 21 years of my life erased with just a few strokes of ink. My name is Elise Barrett. I was 38 then, and I started working at my uncle's company when I was just 17. Back then, Barrett Dynamics was a small parts manufacturer, barely getting by with simple mechanical gears and switch panels. Nothing exciting, just dependable parts that kept machines running. From the beginning, I never fit the family mold. Andrew was 5 years older and had gone to Wharton, coming back acting like he had invented capitalism itself. Logan, 3 years older, majored in communications and could talk his way out of anything. They were polished, loud, and always presenting other people's work as their own. Me. I was the quiet one. I loved the production floor, the circuits, the tools, the CAD software. I spent weekends teaching myself how to code and solder, while they went to country clubs and networking events. I was under the fluorescent lights, rebuilding motorized systems by hand. "You've got the brain of a designer," Uncle David used to tell me, watching as I sketched prototypes for a voice-activated panel system. Maybe even a genius. But to Andrew and Logan, I was just the girl with oil stains on her jeans and strange ideas. When I designed our first adaptive sensor grid at 23, they called it Elise's science fair project. When I created the voice control panel that became our main product line, they took all the credit and pushed me behind the demo screens. But they never understood this. Every patent application, every invention we filed, listed me as the sole inventor. The motion-triggered relay boards, wireless security systems, energy-saving actuators, all mine. They filed under the company's name, but under U.S. patent law, inventorship cannot be changed. No matter how many executives clink champagne glasses. "Are you going to sign those, or just keep glaring at them?" Andrew asked, checking his watch. "We've got a call with Tokyo buyers in 30 minutes. Big order coming through for the smart grid line." That smart grid line had taken me 5 years of weekends, rewrites, and countless tests. Every single part was engineered in my lab. Of course, I signed the papers calmly, saying I'd clear out that afternoon. But Logan cut in sharply. "That won't be necessary. Security already boxed your stuff. Key card and phone, please." I stood slowly, placed my items on the table, and turned toward the elevator. "Oh, and Elise," Andrew called after me. "You remember the non-compete clause, right? No working for competitors for 3 years." I turned just enough to smile. I remember everything. What they forgot was buried deep in the original contract from 15 years ago. While the company owned the products, the intellectual property rights remained mine the moment I was removed. 2 weeks later, everything changed. Barrett Dynamics lost automatic licensing, the Tokyo deal collapsed, and their main investor pulled out quietly. A small press release announced a new startup, Leora Systems, led by founder and chief innovator Elise Barrett. Their tagline, "The mind they couldn't contain." I turned back to the company one last time, giving them a sharp smile. "Clear, Andrew, Logan. Enjoy your meeting with the Tokyo delegation." Walking out of the glass building I had poured half my life into, clutching a cardboard box of my desk clutter, I made one call. "Harrison, it's Elise Barrett. Remember that contingency plan we talked about? It's time." Harrison Lowe, my patent attorney and the only person outside the company who truly understood the scope of what I'd built, didn't sound surprised. "They finally pulled the trigger?" he asked calmly. "Just now. 2:1 vote. My uncle's shares split evenly between Andrew and Logan." After he passed, they control the board now, but they don't know. Not a clue, I replied. They never read the filings, never questioned the different language in the patents. They just assumed everything defaulted to Barrett Dynamics. But here's what my business-savvy cousins never understood. There are two kinds of patent assignments. One is the standard corporate practice. All rights transferred to the company on day one. The other, which I had deliberately used for 5 years, grants only a limited use license tied to employment, while ownership remains with the inventor, me. It was a subtle but legally huge difference, hidden in fine print that neither Andrew nor Logan ever bothered to read, because of course technical paperwork was always Elisa's job. How many patents are we talking about? Harrison asked. 17, I said, sliding into my parked Prius. That includes the entire smart grid suite, every update to our firmware and automation logic, and the full mobile ecosystem. Harrison let out a long breath. So Barrett Dynamics has been operating under licensing agreements that automatically expired today. Correct. He nodded. As of 10 minutes ago, they're infringing. How fast do you want to move? How fast can you send the cease and desist? He asked. I've had them drafted for 2 years, Harrison said without apology. I just need to add the date. Are you absolutely sure this is going to get loud? He asked. I thought of all the boardroom meetings where I was cut off mid-sentence, my cousins presenting my inventions as if they were theirs, while I stood at the back, ignored. Of the smirks, the dismissals, the box I was handed as my grand exit after 21 years. Send them, I said. Every last one. The weekend was unusually quiet. I spent it in the one place that made sense. My garage workshop. Years ago, I had converted it into a fully functional prototyping lab, complete with 3D printers, soldering benches, and a CNC mill. The air smelled of sawdust, heated plastic, and freedom. My phone buzzed here and there. Former co-workers asking what had happened, friends checking in, but I ignored all of them. I had work to do. Monday morning, the sunshine poured in through the skylight like a cosmic spotlight. Perfect timing because Andrew and Logan were settling into their leather chairs, pouring overpriced coffee, when Harrison's cease and desist letters arrived by courier, fax, and encrypted email. I made sure they got the message 3 different ways, leaving no loopholes. At 9:07, Andrew called. I let it ring. At 9:19, Logan called. I ignored him. Then at 9:13, both of them called from the office line again. This time I answered. Good morning, gentlemen, I said sweetly. How was Tokyo? Elisa, what have you done? Andrew's voice cracked, practically shattering the receiver. I've exercised my rights as the legal owner of 17 patents currently being infringed upon, I replied coolly. Since I'm no longer an employee of Barrett Dynamics, your licenses are invalid effective immediately. You are to cease all manufacturing, sales, and distribution. You can't do that. Logan barked. Those belong to the company. You made them here. Actually, I said, if you go back to the contract I signed 5 years ago, you'll see I filed them under independent contractor status at your request. Remember. Because you didn't want to give me a raise. Silence. I smiled, leaning back in my chair. And now you'll pay 10 times that in court or licensing fees. You restructured my employment to save on benefits, I reminded him. You even had me sign a new contract classifying me differently for tax reasons. That change gave me legal grounds to retain ownership of any patents I developed. I could practically hear the frantic rustling of papers and urgent clicking of keyboards as Andrew and Logan scrambled to find the contract they never bothered to read. But you still assigned them to the company, Andrew said, voice cracking. I licensed them to the company, I corrected. There's a difference. A license is conditional, in this case, tied directly to my employment. Page 47 of my contract, subsection 12b. I'm guessing neither of you made it that far. This is blackmail, Logan snapped. No, I said calmly. This is business. Isn't that what you told me on Friday? That you're running a business, not a charity. I could hear them unraveling on the other end of the line. The smart grid line makes up 73% of our revenue, Andrew said, now fully in panic mode. And you just fired the one person responsible for it, I replied. Let me remind you, I continued. Barrett Dynamics used to make industrial switches and junction boxes. I turned it into a smart technology company. You fired the reason that transformation happened. We'll sue, Andrew said. I'd love to hear you explain to a judge why you never read the contracts you signed, why you never questioned why the tech support was named the sole inventor on every major patent, or how you voted out the person who's been propping up your bottom line for over a decade, I said with a smile in my voice. More silence. Then Andrew's voice became smaller. What do you want? What I've always wanted, I said. Respect, recognition, and fair compensation. We can't just undo the termination, Logan muttered. The board would need to vote. We'd look like complete idiots. I suggest you start selling basic junction boxes again, I said. Though that may be difficult. I also hold the patents for the updated manufacturing process. I ended the call and set the phone down on my workbench. Under the glow of a warm desk lamp sat the future. A sleek prototype of my newest invention, a modular smart home hub capable of integrating climate control, lighting, security, and appliances in real time, learning user habits and optimizing efficiency. Smarter, faster, more secure than anything Barrett Dynamics had ever released. I had been developing it in secret for months, knowing this day would come. The calls didn't stop. Board members, attorneys, even a former engineer trying to catch up. I ignored them all. My focus was here, in the lab I built with my own hands.